Monday, March 9th, 2026, 10 a.m. I want to thank everybody in the crowd for attending. Looks like we've got a pretty full house today. I'd like to call the meeting to order, start with the Pledge of Allegiance and the prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
I can't hear it.
Cut your, make sure your mics are
Sonny requested to remove line item number 4 due to not having enough information at this moment. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
And Mark seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Item removed. Okay, number 3, discuss tax structures and bonds with LCDA, and I think our DA is going to come up for a second.
Good morning, everyone. I've invited a few folks here to answer questions about taxes and bonding and borrowing. So they're here. Sean Toots is going to come up, introduce himself, tell you what he does. Matt Kern, some of you have met before. Both Sean and Matt have been involved in some projects with the school board and port, but they're here to help get the conversation started about taxes, public finance issues that you all may have. So, Sean, you want to come on up, and Matt, y'all? I'll turn it over to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning.
Morning.
Matt Kern with Jones Walker. So I think the primary thing we're here to talk to you about is potential for a conduit bond issue through the LCDA. Just to give you some information about who they are. It's a conduit issuer in Baton Rouge that issues bonds on behalf of government entities all throughout the state. Paris has actually done the bond issue before prioritizing the revenue several years ago.
Mr. Kearns, if you don't mind, can you get a little bit closer to the mic?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
So, one of the reasons that local governments issue bonds through the LCDA is that it's a very flexible sources of revenue that can secure the bonds. Something we refer to as a pledge of all lawfully available funds. There are a variety of situations where a local government might go to the LCDA to issue bonds on your behalf. One, you have tax revenues in the future from a variety of different sources. You can kind of borrow to expedite projects now and pay it back through revenues that you expect to receive in the future. That's what we did for the school board to expedite some FEMA projects, and it's what we've done for the port recently. But if you have any questions about any of that, I'd be happy to give you some additional information on it. And Sean can kind of give you some information on what debt service would look like based on different sizes of transactions.
Yeah, thank you. Sean Toots, the government consultants, as was indicated, we've done work with the school board and the port and other parishes in the area, but through the LCDA, as Matt noted, a conduit bond issue, there can often be some benefits, again, because of the pledge, which ultimately gives you a better credit structure, which better credit means lower interest rate. So that's the goal, is to try to get the lowest interest rate we can whenever we go and issue bonds on behalf of the public body. With regards to your finances, obviously it depends on what the market looks like. When you just to give you an idea of a $10 million bond issue these days, if you amortize it over 10 years, you're talking about 1.25 or so in debt service. That's probably a little conservative. If you go a little longer, 15 years, obviously it'd be less. But just depending on what size issue you wanted to do, what would you use it for, and then ultimately kind of the structure will drive that interest rate and where the market is at the time. Unfortunately, rates are still pretty good right now. But that's kind of a quick overview. I know you probably have more specific questions, but we're here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions, guys?
I'd like, of course, it's probably a Tom question too. What all are you capable of advising us on? Because we're looking at, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road of what our tax incomes are gonna be and how to restructure our taxes in the way that, you know, these things go on ballots and the way they're worded so we keep ourselves out of trouble but keep money flowing in the right direction. Are you capable of doing that?
Sure, I guess it's a combination, and I won't speak for Matt. So my firm is a municipal advisory firm, so we advise local governments on finance. So we certainly could advise you on anything related to either debt issuance or structuring taxes or how you wanted to levy taxes, how you wanted to adjust taxes. When you get into specific ballot initiatives and how the wording in the ballot, I would defer more to the Tom or Matt on that as the wording in the ballot. We don't give legal advice, so that's kind of a stay out of that. But certainly we could help you run into numbers, kind of say, okay, what does a reduction of this millage do based on certain assessed value assumptions? What would a, changes in taxes result or look like for you? As Matt indicated, the school board, kind of a similar situation. Obviously, they've got the same, looking forward, they've got the same future, I guess, prospects in terms of what assessed values are going to look like, what tax collections are going to look like. They had projects they need to get done now, realizing the money's coming in at some point in the future. So we went in and kind of structured, we did a debt issuance, structured some of that debt to where it lets them do the projects now, but lets them pay it back once tax revenues start coming in a little stronger.
And I think most of us understand that concept.
Right.
Why we do that. Our dilemma is that language on ballots and what we can do on ballots and, and one of our senators told me that there's a way that we can even on certain ballots, if it's for, say, a drainage board, that once it gets to a certain level that the excess can go to another entity or some other project or something, but it has to be spelled out exactly in the proposal on the ballot itself.
Yeah, again,
So, are you capable of
sure.
structuring that?
We actually just did that with the school board in the Baton Rouge area where they have a millage that's going to pay debt right now, but that debt's going to start rolling off. So they went in and actually failed the first time because they worded it correctly, but they such that they renewed the tax such that once the bonds were paid off, that millage was no longer needed for debt service. So a portion of that millage went to their general operations and maintenance. So it was set forth in the ballot that it kind of changed over time as to where that millage was going to be used, how much of that millage was going to be assessed. So yeah, we can certainly assist you with that. Again, between me and your legal counsel, whether that's Matt or Tom or whoever, we certainly can assist you with that.
So we could also help with just kind of broader planning with, you got a variety of special districts throughout the parish, and there's been some discussions about what to do with those. You all may have a memo that I've prepared and sent to Tom about, whether combining some of those districts is a possibility. That can be part of the conversation as a whole, along with the idea of borrowing.
Is that something you're familiar with, combining districts?
Tom, me or Tom?
Y'all?
Yes.
Any other questions?
I do. Can you have one specialized tax district, say basically the entire parish, or does it have to be composed of more than one to be considered?
You can, but one of your problems now is you have a bunch of little districts. So the question is, do you create some sort of a new one that's on top of those existing districts? Do you consolidate them somehow? There are challenges with consolidating in the process that you have to go through, and different elections and things, and just a bunch of things to take into consideration.
What would be some of the causes of putting those districts together?
Just procedural complexity. There are a couple different ways to do it. The Constitution has kind of the primary method. When a parish decides, I want to consolidate all of these gravity drainage districts into a single consolidated district, you can do that. The Constitution requires you to have an election and get a majority vote of everybody in the parish. If that vote is successful, you can consolidate those districts into a single one, but now you have the millages that were originally levied by each of the individual districts that have different millage rates. And so to combine all those instead of a single millage rate, you need to have another election to homogenize the tax rates after consolidating.
So what,
So you'd be able to look at the district numbers and maybe help us be able to optimize that. And where it could, so if we optimize, it would help the entire parish. assuming that, what you do would be look at the numbers and, put it all together and see what would benefit if we get a consolidation.
We could help look at that. It's not really a monetary consideration. It's more of a, you know, is it worth going through the process that you have to go through to do it?
So I got one question, cause I read a little bit about the Constitution and different stuff. I think the goal is consolidation. I'm being told, or at least there's discussion about putting it to a majority vote, being a lot of these districts that they want to consolidate into one don't have many voters and they got the majority. But after reading some of the constitutions, I don't see how we could do a majority vote of the whole parish for them to come and take a small district's tax base, so to speak. So each tax base would have to have a majority vote saying if they wanted to consolidate or not, or could you do it across the board like that?
I think it's a majority vote parish-wide. If you're gonna take one type of district, for example, gravity drainage districts, like I said, if we're gonna combine all of those into the parish government, it would be a majority vote, you know, parish-wide.
Right.
Then if you're gonna change the tax rates that existed pre-consolidation, you need to have another vote throughout the parish to do that.
Yeah, cause each part is a totally different tax rate.
Right.
So to me, that would, majority vote would be a, so to speak, to me, a new tax, because if you consolidate one, all the taxes would have to be the same across the board.
So if you consolidated, before you deal with the disparity in tax rates, you'd have the existing millages that were already in effect, you know, before they expire would remain in place. So you can consolidate the district, but to make the tax rate the same parish-wide, you have to have another election to go up or down, you know, all the existing millages.
So technically, I'm just trying to understand a little better. So say if we was to consolidate, say, Amla's district, there's 1 and 2. So in my area is mostly 1, and they're pretty much maxed out. Then 2 is basically barely got any rates at all. So if we made it 1 and it stayed different, is 2 able to spend 1's money until it's voted on to change the millage rates?
I need to look into that a little bit further. I'm not sure that would be allowed, but like I mentioned,
'cause-
just the consolidation, the vote on the consolidation allows the consolidation itself, but not the changes in
Cool.
the tax rate.
And the reason why I said that, the previous jury done did consolidation from Creo, Granchenier, and Cameron. It's a consolidated water board. However, it's still 3 separate districts. It's consolidated on paper, but that's all you got. Other than that, it still works as 1. And that's why I was kind of confused. 'Cause I'm like, yeah, we can vote consolidation all day long, but at the end of the day, they're still separate until those districts want to be in consolidation and vote in those districts.
That's right.
Because, I mean, right now, it's a living testament with Cameron, Creo, and Granchenier Waterworks. So that's why I was trying to just, because not only for the future, for what's already in place, I had those questions for those reasons.
And then there's another function to it, that the actual board itself has to vote to be part of the consolidation, right?
So that's an alternative process. The first one that I outlined was in the Constitution. There's a separate process in Title 33 that starts with basically the districts approaching the police jury and saying, we want to be consolidated. So we're gonna consolidate all drainage districts. Each of the boards of those drainage districts would need to adopt a resolution asking the jury to consolidate them into a consolidated membership.
I got you.
Right.
To your point too, one other mention, I should mention one other thing. A lot of times when we've done consolidations around the state, the plan to consolidate has also come with a plan to consolidate villages. So it's oftentimes before somebody's gonna vote on whether they wanna consolidate, they don't wanna know what it means, obviously, to their taxes. So a lot of times those two, if they've not done it at the same time, they've at least had it in place that we're immediately following up with the tax changes so that people know what's coming.
Yeah, because I called the Secretary of State, the AGs, I pretty much called all the agencies for one simple question. Hey, if we consolidate and say one little district says no, are they just out of it, or they pulled in it against their will? Because that's the whole purpose of creating that district. And I was basically told, well, we don't know, Mr. Daigle, we never had a consolidation that anybody was against it. Now, I don't know if anybody would be against it, but just to get the information, they're like, we never had that. Usually it always passed unanimously. We never run into that, so we kind of can't answer yet. So that's why I was just curious to see if we can kind of get that answer.
Hey, guys, any other questions? Appreciate y'all's time today. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Along the lines of that discussion, I had Michael and I had a conversation last week analyzing the agenda and just talking about issues as I've done with Mr. Nunez in the past, just trying to prepare for this meeting. And we discussed the concept or the idea that y'all could hire special counsel for the purpose of the things that y'all just discussed, whether it's consolidation, tax planning, borrowing, financial planning, organizing, reorganizing your whole millage structure, that you should hire special counsel. I understand the concepts and the ideas, but implementing those plans and executing those plans would take special counsel, plus special counsel, people like Matt Kern and Sean's company probably have more ideas just from practical experience than I do. I mean, I don't mind admitting when I don't know the answer to all the questions. So along those lines, I'd ask y'all to consider adding to your agenda, because we didn't get to it timely last week to put it on your agenda, the voting meeting to hire special counsel. Unfortunately, Mr. Kern's not available through some conflicts in the parish where he represents some private entities that are doing business with us and his firm. But we have some recommendations to hire counsel who specialize in this. So I'm just asking to add that to your agenda. Let's get moving forward so we can hire somebody to answer those questions. Mr. Toots' company is still available, to y'all to help, talk about the structure and the future of what those taxes would look like and so forth and so on. But I'd like us to move forward in that direction. So,
Do you feel like, what's his name, John? What's the other attorney's name?
that I would recommend.
Right.
Yeah, no. So so historically, Jay Delafield has always been the guy that we turned to the parish, the school board, and Jay's retired, so he's not available anymore. So I called Jay and I said, Jay, we need somebody for this purpose. Matt's not available, or Matt's law firm is not available, the Jones Walker firm, and he recommended the law firm of Butler Snow. So Butler Snow has offices all over the country. I got a name of Carmen Laverne. I talked to Carmen last week. She is available to represent the police jury for these matters. I just mentioned to Katie. Katie had a different lawyer from the same law firm. That lawyer's in Shreveport. Carmen's in Baton Rouge. It's Carmen, but that law firm comes recommended, and that's who my recommended person would be for y'all to hire to help you with these issues going forward.
So if we add it to the agenda and vote on it,
Add it,
give you the authority to.
Yes, to
to
start
hire
executing to hire her.
They can do what
I get an engagement letter, contract, get with the Attorney General. Y'all just say yes, hire her, then I'll go take care of all the paperwork, and y'all can get started.
Mr. Tom, with that, if we was to put that on the agenda, can you kind of give the jury a choice of a handful of them, and before we go to a final decision?
All I've got is Butler Snow. Carmen is who Delafield refers to. Another attorney in Shreveport with Butler Snow is who someone had referred Katie to. I don't have anybody else other than Butler Snow to recommend to you, that law firm.
I had a question before we go any further with that. If we hire a firm, can we have a meeting with them, or do we have to have an open public meeting with them?
You're still subject to the open meetings law. So the other thing that I would suggest highly is that Michael appoint a committee to at least of three of y'all to start meeting with Carmen or whomever you want to hire to give them some direction and some ideas. Of course, if it's a committee of three, the other ones can convey to the committee members some thoughts and ideas. But we meet once a month, and Carmen was going to be available today. I just thought y'all had too much going on today for her to be here, but she's ready to get started.
So no strategy meetings, anything we do.
No.
The action we take, we know we'll have to do in a public meeting, but we would like to discuss openly, because there's 7 people here, there's 7 different views on how this is going to go. I
have no problem, would encourage y'all to have Carmen here. But you got, whether it's Mr. Toops or Carmen Laverne, you got to give them some direction. What do you want to know? Matt Kern just answered some questions about consolidation. He gave you two ways to consolidate. One is by consent, if the board's consent. I don't see that happening. Okay, can we all agree? That ain't gonna happen. Okay, the other way is by force. And that's where you have to, basically, you as a group would have to decide, we're gonna eliminate certain districts and create a parish-wide district. Y'all would force that on those districts. It would have to be a vote, parish-wide vote, to consolidate those districts into one parish-wide district. If that passes, then there'd have to be a vote on the tax issue. Are we gonna consolidate these taxes into one big parish tax? So there's a consent, not gonna happen. There's a force, and you could force it. If 4 of y'all vote to force that issue and bring it to a vote of the public, you can do it right now. Make a decision, just do something.
Yeah, Mr. Tom, on that, I'm just trying to better understand why I know the goal of the majority of the jury and what the outcome they're looking for is. However, I'm still confused of why we're gonna spend money on legal counsel, because right now, as it is, it was already forced on 3 water districts. So it's consolidated. However, the whole purpose of consolidation ain't to call it consolidation, it's to spread the money around the parish.
That's what Mark said.
And we're still haven't done it from before previous of us being jurors with this consolidated board. The funds still ain't consolidated to that point, and they don't even know how to get there. So is that what we're looking to do, or we're looking to put another consolidated board that the tax monies can't cross the district line?
I say let's move forward. We all know what we have to, we all know what
Mark,
the is here.
But Mark, to answer your question, and the public should understand. So in that instance, I think the motivating factor for consolidation was the $15 million grant.
Correct.
Without consolidation, South Cameron doesn't get $15 million from the state to infrastructure, which.
They all pass resolutions.
So in
Absolutely.
that case, those boards each water board passed a resolution to consolidate. So we got their consent. So we went the consensual method. What they haven't done yet is those boards in this police jury haven't voted to put those 3 tax millages, Cameron, Creole, and Grand Chenier, on a ballot to combine those checkbooks, those taxes. So they've been operating as, although there's one board, they got 3 checkbooks. So they haven't put that on the ballot. So that would need to go, it needs to go on the ballot.
Yes.
I think politically, they've been waiting for the $15 million project to get finished.
I know from speaking with them, it was the fact of they don't know if each district could pick or if you put them all together and do one. I think that's done. So.
My appreciation is that it would be an election of all 3 of those areas as one. So if Creole and Grand Chenier outvoted Cameron, so be it. They would be consolidated. One district vote can't stop the consolidation. It's a whatever the new district looks like. In this case, it's South Cameron, because it's those 3 water districts. So everybody within those 3 water districts would vote. Majority carries the day, period.
And there's a legal statute that states that?
Yes. My understanding through Mr. Kern's memo, and that's what I think you need special counsel for, is that is my understanding of the way the law works. Is it's a
2 ways.
Well, with the water district, it was consensual, but we still have to go to the people to vote on the taxes. And you don't have 3 elections, or you don't have each district doesn't get to vote on it. It's the combined area votes as a total. And that's my understanding and appreciation. Hey, I stand corrected if someone tells me differently.
Well, if that's the case, why do any parish have separate taxing districts? Like the heavy populated areas everything would be parish-wide.
Well,
That's why he's saying to hire special counsel.
It takes either consensual, which we did with the water. The water and the fire districts of South Cameron are a perfect example of consenting. Those groups consented to consolidate, but they still have to vote on the tax. Fire already voted. They voted to consolidate. Water still has to vote. They haven't put it on the ballot. That board at some point will need to say, the water board will have to say, we want this on the ballot so we can consolidate these 3 taxes. They haven't done that. Now, that's the example of consensual. That's this concept of the board's consent. The alternative is for the governing authority, which you are, is to force the consolidation, but it still has to be, there still has to be elections.
Yeah, I just think that's the interpretation of the way the laws read. So I mean, I think it, in my opinion, and constitutionally, that's why it's voted. That's why each district votes. Because in that case, we wouldn't have nationwide elections. The Senate would pick the president.
Yeah, and for the sake of brevity, we can sit here all night.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. For the sake of time, let's get it moved.
You see where we are?
Well,
We have a lot of discussion to do, and this is not really the venue to do it in.
Well, I agree.
I think maybe today's not the day, but we have a special meeting next week. I mean, we've got to get this moving forward, in my opinion.
And the whole thing about special counsel is to get our options, get all the options in a row.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett.
There might,
Appreciate
and
it.
there might be a better option.
Yeah, no, I agree. There may be options.
We need to look into everything, and I really suggest that we do this and, at least get some meetings with them.
Agreed.
Okay.
And
Thank
those
you.
meetings still are public, still subject to the public meetings rules unless you have a committee and so y'all decide how y'all want to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, Ms. Kim Monte, update on dredging.
Put on slideshow, just a little, the map, so kind of hard to see if you don't. Morning.
Morning.
All right, just gonna try to give a little update this morning on where we're at on this project. You do it from
No, it froze. I'll go there. Please stay.
There you go. All right, so the port, you can go to the next slide. Just to give a little background so that we kind of, the whole public and everything knows where we're starting from. The port, for permit number 2023-0391 is for maintenance dredging project of Calcasieu Pass Loop. The project was referred to all along as Loop Pass Project. The port engaged a CEA with Venture Global to fund and execute the work done for the current Loop Pass permit. The port permitted the project, and VG designed, executed, and funded the project. The project description for the Loop Pass project, approximately 1,203,333 cubic yards of material was to be dredged from the Calcasieu Pass Loop to achieve a navigable depth for barges and offshore vessels. During maintenance dredging, this material was to be transported to the designated location within the Cameron Prairie National Wildlife Refuge via slurry pipeline and booster pumps and deposited at an elevation level designed to promote the rejuvenation of brackish marsh in the project area. This is just an overall map of at the bottom on the south end where in the loop they were dredging from, then the slurry line going up to the area in the Cameron Prairie National Wildlife Refuge where the material was to be deposited. All right, so what happened? Early August 2025, dewatering discharge from the placement area carried spoil beyond the refuge boundary. While some sediment would inevitably be carried in any discharge, the unusually high load during this incident resulted in sediment deposition on adjoining property to the west and particularly in the section of the North Lake Rim Channel. The port requested dredging stop immediately, requested CPRA close no-name weir, and applied for the emergency use authorization for mitigation measures. The EUA was granted by the Army Corps on August 13th and the Office of Coastal Management on August 15th. Dredging of the Loop Pass was suspended promptly after the discovery of the incident and for the long term. No-name weir was closed by CPRA the day after the dredging stopped. An aerial survey and ground reconnaissance indicated sediment accumulation was focused in the North Lake Rim Channel. 3 basic areas of accumulation were found. Off-property settlement accumulation, and off-property just means off the Cameron Prairie National Wildlife Refuge. In the Lake Rim Channel, estimated 5.48 acres with an accumulation volume of 15,000 for an estimated accumulation of 15,948 cubic yards based on an assumed accumulation thickness of 1 to 2 feet. At the request of CPRA, the retrieval footprint of this area has been extended by 1.11 acres to include the area immediately south of the no-name weir, making the total off-property sediment accumulation estimate of 6.59 acres to be retrieved. The second on-property sediment accumulation in the North Lake Rim Channel was estimated to be 13.94 acres with an accumulation volume of estimated 33,735 cubic yards based on an assumed accumulation thickness of 1 to 2 feet. And the third off-property sediment accumulation south of the channel into shallower, partly vegetated area north of the no-name Bayou Project berm, where the deposition area totals an estimate of 9.2 acres, estimating a 2,473 cubic yard and an estimated 2-inch average accumulation. Pre-accumulation survey data for the North Lake Rim Channel was reviewed and compared to post-accumulation data to estimate the volume and depth of material to restore to previous conditions. Upon completion, a post-remediation survey will be completed to determine current bathymetric depths are at or below pre-accumulation depths. An estimated 49,683 cubic yards is estimated amount needed to be removed per this data. An estimated 31,527 cubic yards have been removed to date. This value is estimated through March 7th, and the dredging has been paused as of March 8th, pending a post-remediation bathymetric survey data to determine accumulated material has been removed. This picture is a diagram of where the material settled. The off-property would be to the left of the yellow line, which is the boundary for Cameron Prairie National Wildlife Refuge. The lighter colored in the rim channel going towards the weir, and then the black hash areas was the 9.2 acres. And then to the right of the yellow line on the Cameron Prairie National Wildlife Refuge is the yellow in the channel. All right, how was the discharge mitigated? Number one, bathymetric comparison, pre-accumulation bathymetric data for the North Lake Rim Channel was reviewed and compared with current data to estimate the volume and depth of material that should be removed to restore previous conditions. The second thing that was done, prep for the sediment return. Additional berms were placed in the northwest section of the loop spoil placement area to provide a fully contained zone for the retrieved dredge spoil. Additionally, a series of training berms were installed interiorly to force dewatering in the longest path. Likewise, berms and silt curtains have been installed across the north and south ends of the 250-foot wide western water conveyance pathway on the west side or left side of that map that you're looking at. Currently, Higgy weirs are being installed in those north and south berms in preparation for final dewatering. Future dredge material placement within the combined loop/CP2 disposal area will employ weir boxes for dewatering. They still, if you recall, when we stopped the dredging, they still had just a very small part at the south end of that they've never gone back and retrieved, and it will eventually be retrieved and put into this loop/CP2 area that's on the map. You can see the additional berms that have been installed are in blue and red, and no dewatering actually has taken place at all for the material that has been put back in and retrieved from the North Rim Channel. It has been very slow process because it's an 8-inch dredge pipeline, and so the watering has kind of moved through and within the project and has not exited the project at all yet. The third thing is dredger mobilization and operation. A small 8-inch diameter hydraulic dredger was transported by road to an existing launch area to the west of the affected property. The dredger traveled north and east along the North Lake Rim Channel to the sediment accumulation area to remove the excess material and return through an 8-inch diameter slurry line to the designated, now fully enclosed loop pass spoil placement area. Surveys will be taken upon completion of dredging to determine that pre-accumulation bathymetry has been reestablished. To reduce the risk of further sediment migration, the no-name weir remains closed. Turbidity curtains remain across the North Lake Rim Channel immediately south of the weir, and no name is the only weir closed due to dredging. It is noteworthy that on February 18th, on one of the Port and Office of Coastal Management site visits, it was found that the no-name weir was open in one section. It was immediately reported to CPRA. They closed the weir the next morning and reported that it appeared to have been operated by an unauthorized person. This is just a picture of, we affectionately call it the baby dredger, but the 8-inch hydraulic dredger that's used to do the cleanup. Port's involvement, August 18th, was the first weekly update Teams call with the Port, Venture Global, Office of Coastal Management, Corps of Engineers, Wildlife and Fisheries, CPRA, Department of Environmental Quality, the Cameron Prairie National Wildlife Refuge, and NOAA. These calls have continued every Monday since, and Port gave an update on the dewatering discharge at an August 26th Port Board meeting. September 17th was the first weekly site visit with Port and Office of Coastal Management biologist and Venture Global's environmental inspector. These visits have also continued every Wednesday since. Today makes the 6th Port and Venture Global update to the police jury, and the Port has coordinated visits with VG and over 120 fishermen since September 9th and made a visit to the AOC Park with VG to look at oysters. Just as a side note, Venture Global has stepped up their monitoring and preventative measures since this incident, and just as Office of Coastal Management has stepped up their monitoring of the project. I'll be happy to answer. I know that was a lot, but I'll be happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability if you guys have any.
I can go first if you don't mind.
Okay.
I got about 3 or 4 quick questions,
Okay.
and they're just for the benefit of those who might not know. The numbers estimated on these are estimated by who?
Those numbers are estimated by was Providence went in and did polling, was the engineering, and Callan Marine. So they went in and did polling in those areas to find those estimates. There was a pre-accumulation actual bathymetric data, but they went in and did the polling as an estimate. They will go back and do a final bathymetric survey on that area to make certain that they have taken all the accumulation or more. And I say or more because the baby dredger has a minimum depth dredge of 3 inches. So if in some areas it was only a foot of accumulation, they don't have the option to go in and only take out a foot in that area. They'll have to go down to 3 feet.
All right, and
Miss
they're working-
Kim,
are they
y'all,
working?
give me 1 second. Mr. Butch, would you mind shutting that door? There's a lot of background noise coming from that direction. Okay, well, can somebody ask them to please quiet down?
Anyway,
Thank you.
is there any state agency working with Providence on this, these estimated numbers?
Well, Providence, and actually now Fence to Maker has been added to the group, is reporting to the state agencies, and all of those numbers that they come up with will be conveyed to the state agencies.
Is there a lead agency kind of working with them?
Office of Coastal Management is the lead agency for the permit.
Okay, and I guess that Office of Coastal Management would be the one that would be overseeing any investigation, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and I guess they would be the same ones that would enforce any findings that would be found?
Absolutely.
All right. And last question, are we experiencing any other issues since we've closed No Name Bayou with water exiting the project?
Not for the Loop Pass project, other than on the February 18th that I noted. And actually that shouldn't have been a problem at all because the material that was being retrieved was being put back in a completely closed system and didn't have a chance to get through.
Okay.
There may have been, you know, turbidity or something, but it would have been no material.
That's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay. Mr. Nunez?
Ms. Kim, did any make it to the Lambert Bayou, any of this fall?
None of the spoil, to my knowledge, has made it or been, marked as, have made it to the Lambert Bayou.
And I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand your chart, but how many acres in the lake itself they got out of No Name Bayou, out of T-Boys Cut?
Out into T-Boys area, or the
Out
T-Boys
in
Weir?
the lake, yes, ma'am.
To my knowledge, there's been no sediment accumulation out there that, has actually been accumulated and noted.
Last month, I believe it was, Mr. Tad brought in some oysters that was muddy, and I actually had a friend call me from another parish yesterday that got oysters from here, and he said, "Can I eat them? They're really muddy." And so I said, "Yeah, maybe you can eat them, just wash them." But so I just making sure. I didn't know if it was getting out of Lambert, or I don't quite understand the whole. That's all the question I have.
Okay, Mr. Daniel?
Yeah, Ms. Kim, I got a few questions. Is there any acknowledgement to the south of this project about any spoil outside of the placement area?
To the south of this project, look at the map that I gave you that has the whole project on it.
Yep.
And the area that they have accumulation is the black hashtags, which is actually on, T-Boys area, and then in that Lake Rim channel right north of that area.
Correct, that's the north and the west of the project. I'm talking about the south and the east of the project, which would be between the levee the workers are driving down and the berm. It's just a canal. All of our drainage is for our parish of Cameron goes through there.
Right. To my knowledge, everything was contained.
Yeah, because I know from these meetings with BG and everybody, and I kind of spoke to him off the record about it, but I'm still very unclear because they talk about these soundings. The only soundings that they was able to produce me is in that northern rim channel, which is along the big levee. They don't have no sounding that they showed me for T-Boys Lake, nor to the south where 100% there's settlement.
I think they worked with CPRA for some soundings that CPRA had for pre-accumulation in that area that they'll be looking at in T-Boys Lake. I'm just unsure about the south side of it.
Correct.
You're talking about the navigation ditch that we rode down?
I'm talking about the south side. Remember when me, you and Mr. Ron had the pleasure of being out there? We had to turn around because of the pipe?
Correct. And that was with the airboat. It was hardly any water.
Yeah, the picture where it was mud for the northerns, but.
Was it inside the project area?
No, ma'am, it's outside.
Okay.
I know a lot of times I believe, and I don't want to misquote, it was with LDNR. I don't know if his name was Mr. Chris or something like that, but I think it was a K. It's been some time. I know I spoke with him on this permit, and me and him got into great detail, and we was 100% on the same page, and I guess he slept on it, and the next day we was 180 off. Do you know what a spoil migration buffer is, or can you point me to the person who would know? Because I even talked to Providence, they don't even want to talk about that.
So I'm assuming, I know what you're talking about on this map. I do see that listed. I don't know, I'm unaware of what it is. I would assume that that map right there is probably a Peter Bell map.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the person I'd probably, Adventure Global.
And then the next thing I was brought up about this project was these conveyance channels. I was under the impression they're gonna have actual ditches and water flow, but speaking with BG and that, they're not. It's just gonna be left natural. And all the landowners are getting with me. They wanna know how their water is gonna flow across through these conveyance channel when these conveyance channel have literally grass islands all the way across them.
Well, the conveyance channels, some of them had grass areas and vegetation in them already.
Correct.
Just like Historic Bayou does. And so they are going to leave that natural, but they will not close up. The only conveyance channel closed up right now completely is the one that had the migration out of it. And they're installing, no dewatering has happened to the north or south out of that right now because it's been burned up to contain the area. They're installing weirs that will be used to dewater. And then when the project is over, after the monitoring period and whenever that time comes, they will degrade all of those berms back to the natural elevation.
So again, the levee goes all the way across. They're saying it's going all the way to across. I think they referred it to as Lambert, and basically tying into another dredging project from years ago.
Okay, so
And-
you're probably talking about the CP2 permit right now.
Yeah, I'm talking in general of how the water's gonna flow through any of these projects, CPRA or whatever, the conveyance channel's on here. I mean, I'm talking about specifically the picture you got up.
Okay.
You stated they got grass areas. The grass areas is above the water level. They're leaving it. It's across both conveyance channels they have, and then they threw a levee up. How is all the water south of there gonna flow north to get to the lake? Unless we're in a flood to where it goes over the grass areas. That's the concern.
There is no levee on the south side of that pink on the east side. There is no levee.
That orange.
There is no.
To the south, that orange, all the way across is a levee. It ties into T-Boy's grassland area way to the left-hand side of this picture, which that's out the water dry. You can get out with tennis shoes in each of them conveyance channels, because I rode through them with VG, and I'm sure you rode through them yourself with the airboat. It's got saltgrass, and that saltgrass is above the water. So just say right now, if we go out there, how's the water draining through the conveyance channels? I'm not saying y'all got it levied off 100%. That, I think it's 150 foot wide, the conveyance channel. And in the conveyance channel, they got places, they got grass from one side to the other. So the people's concerned that have been stopping in my house about it, saying when it rains a bunch, there's water's not allowed to go now that y'all built levee all the way across, even with the CP2 project on the other side that I think with Commonwealth and all that, it's gonna be levied all the way across and the water's only gonna drain through the conveyance channels the way it's designed. Is that correct? And in the conveyance channels, they got grassy areas that above marsh level, so we would have to flood for the water to be over ground level for it to flow out, in theory.
Good morning, everybody. I'm John Foray with CH Fenstermaker, and I was made part of the CP2 team in late December of 2025. And since then, we have been talking with them and working with them as it relates to, as they're laying out these disposal areas heading to the east. And so the permitted activity is just that, to create a temporary flow, right? Because they have to contain the sediment through these weir structures into these conveyance channels that eventually will be returned to normal. But the permitting agencies agreed with this plan moving forward. So to answer your specifics about how and what's going to happen, I was not part of the permitting exercise, but they have the permit approved through the state agencies and the Corps to do this. And I believe, again, going out on a limb a little bit, as this area dewaters, it will be, the levees on either end of these conveyance will be degraded to the point of returning it. It's a complex system. I don't have a direct answer for you to be able to say it's left or it's right or it's up or it's down, but that's the intent. And the reason for the intent is because when you're doing these marsh creations, as you know, there's a lot of turbidity mixed in with that water. They have to give it time to dewater so they can only put out the cleanest water, clean water, not the cleanest, clean water. And to do that, it takes time and elevation on their weir elevations to allow only the clearest water out into these systems. And it's common practice to utilize the marsh to help with that, to trap the final bit of it.
Well, you're speaking about the water that's coming out of the berm area.
Right.
I'm talking about all the water that Mother Nature puts on between this ridge and this levee that they're building across there.
Right.
How it's gonna drain through the conveyance channel. I don't think they looked at that part of it. They just looked at the job.
Well, again, I can't speak on behalf of the state, but they had to review this plan. It wasn't done in a vacuum.
So, State, I need to contact LDNR again and ask those questions, because the people's very concerned about that.
I would contact the Office of Coastal Management first.
Office of Coastal Management.
Right, and I think that would be a great start to help get a clarification of how that decision came to be. Yes, sir.
Correct. I sure appreciate it.
You bet.
So-
Thank
so-
you.
So the way I understand it is that after the project is finished and everything is cured, that those berms will be taken down for the conveyance channel to operate as it did before.
That is my understanding, right. I have not been a part of a program or a restoration project that any of that would be allowed to stay.
There's islands, they're not digging a ditch to it for the water to come across it. You've been back there, I never seen nobody drive a boat or the water flow through the Saltgrass Island.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Kim, Dr. John, appreciate it.
I have a question for Kim.
We're not taking questions at the moment from the audience. Moving on to the green cards. Let's start off with David Koch, P-Card Group.
Good morning, guys. My name is David Koch. I'm with the P-Card Group. We handle the lobbying and governmental affairs for the police jury. Just wanted to come and give you all a quick update on the legislative session that is kicking off today at noon, so in about an hour. We see roughly 1,500 bills filed at this time. The legislature can file up until March 31st, so we're expecting another couple hundred. Katie will be getting you over the comprehensive bill track this afternoon that's been put together for the parish. Session can go on until June 1st, but they must adjourn by 6 o'clock that day. So over the next 3 months, we'll be engaging with our legislative delegation between Senator Abraham and Representative Boriak to push our priorities. Kind of as a general overview, the state is looking at about a $250 million surplus in their state general fund. That's just good overall. No major program budget cuts we're expecting. General capital infrastructure, we're expecting that to be a robust bill this session. I know as far as the parish, we'll be pursuing some additional money for road rehabilitation, as well as some additional money for breakwaters this session. One more thing I'd like to mention, Cameron Parish Day, I believe we landed on March 23rd. So look forward to having y'all over in Baton Rouge. Should be a fun day. I know everybody looks forward to it. All the cooking, all the festivities, all the things we have going on. Moving on to bills, I just wanted to mention three very briefly that we're going to be watching closely. One is by Representative Boriak. It's going to authorize Cameron the ability to create an insurance program to help local homeowners throughout the parish. I believe it'll give the parish the authority to appropriate general funds from the budget to this program for local assistance. Another bill we'll be watching that the entire Police Jury Association will have their eyes on is the centralized sales tax bill. It's back this session. Representative Josh Carlson out of Lafayette is carrying that bill. Not sure how much traction it'll get this session compared to the last couple of years. I think the state's fiscal outlook over the next 5 years is the next 2, we're expecting a surplus, and the next 3, we're expecting a deficit. So based on those numbers, we're waiting to see how the administration wants to handle this constitutional amendment to pursue centralized sales tax. In the past, Governor Landry has been supportive, given it is a large business initiative. However, we want to make sure that the local revenue is protected when it comes back to the parish. So that'll be one we're watching as well. And then the third one I just wanted to mention is House Bill 665 by Jacob Rowe. He's from the St. Bernard Parish area, the southeast corner of the state. His bill would authorize parishes to enter into CEAs with private parties for maintenance and operation of ferries. Obviously, the Cameron Ferry has been a highlight project and initiative for all of y'all for a number of years. We're hoping for a smooth rollout once the ferry is completed. But just watching this bill as an option down the road, if we do see additional hurdles with the state come into play, this would be a tool that the parish could opt into with a private party to set up operations and maintenance of the fleet. So that's just one we'll be watching as well. We are expecting some insurance bills that have already been filed to make some progress. We'll be updating Katie and all of y'all on that. Some carbon capture bills will be in play as well this session. But all that will be contained in the report, which I know she'll share with all of y'all. But that's a general summary. I don't want to take up too much time, but any specific questions on the session as we kick off today?
Appreciate you coming, Mr. Coach, today. One thing to just kind of go on is what our state rep is looking at. I know insurance as a whole is being looked at, but here in Cameron Parish, house insurance has got to really be looked at close. But turn it over to Mr. McGee.
I don't think we're looking at insurance near enough. another thing. I'm just gonna go back to the one with the centralized sales tax.
Yes, sir.
Where the, state, jury association is gonna be, supporting a resolution opposing that. How we supposed to be, are we for it or are we against it? I don't understand. If the police jury association's against it, how are we for it? What's the deal?
I wasn't saying the parish would be for it. I was just highlighting it as a bill of interest this session. I would imagine, and this would be a position y'all would have to vote on or take, that Cameron would oppose it as well. Given if the bill gains traction and moves forward, at the bare minimum, we would make sure there are safeguards in place directing the appropriate amount of money back to the parish. And what I mean by that is, if the state becomes the centralized collector, we want to make sure that there is a transparent process to see what Cameron paid into it, to make sure that that revenue is redirected back to the parish, if that makes sense. But from a parish perspective, I would imagine we would oppose that bill in general, along with the police jury, as you noted.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all very much.
Next green card, Mr. Brandon DeBorge.
Good morning. I'm Brandon DeBorge. Now, the things I'm going to talk about and address are some things that me and my community are dealing with on a daily basis. And some things y'all can help me with, and some things y'all can't. But I want to use this small platform to get some light shine on some of these problems that we're dealing with as locals, okay? So the first thing is the traffic. The traffic is unbelievable for us locals in a daily commute. We got to deal with this. Now, what started this fire in me was my little boy in that school bus. When the day that school bus sat there at that caution light road for 45 minutes while they let this traffic out of this plant non-stop. They just let it out because they got to get it out of there. And they sat there, and he got off that bus crying because he had an accident in his pants and he was scared he was going to be in trouble. Okay? Now let that sink in. 7-year-old little boy couldn't hold it no longer. That's just one thing. The next thing, anytime we got to make a commute,
Brandon, not to interrupt you. The location we're talking about,
we talking about from here to the Y, my District 1.
Okay.
This is what I'm focused on. District 1, from right here where we stand to the Y.
Because to support you, we're going to have to make sure we get it right. So that's DOTD.
Yes, and I talked to the sheriff, and he finally contacted me back, and I have a meeting with him Wednesday,
Okay.
and so on and so on. But, okay, so when we trying to make our commutes to go check our boats, let's say anywhere from it starts at 2:30 in the morning. 2:30 in the morning, it starts backing up in Cameron, and it goes all the way out to almost Gerber Street out there, almost to the Y some mornings if it's got problems, fog and stuff like that. So in the meantime, any local that lives next to this highway, you got these vehicles beating and banging their music, rattling your house, waking you up starting at 2:30 in the morning. Okay? So this is what we're dealing with. Now, when we want to leave to go check our boats or get to our boats to go to work, because that's our livelihoods, this is a 30-minute to 45-minute commute. That used to be 5 minutes. Okay? Now, all this got thrown at us, and we did not want this. Now, can we stop it? No. We know that. But can something be done? Yes. The community, and I went around, and you see the people I got. This is in 4 days, okay? The information I got and the facts that I got and the going around talking to the community and addressing the concerns, this is what I got in 4 days. So I'm sure I can do better by next meeting. But we having to deal with this. We are ready, most of us now, this is just most of us that I'm going out, we're ready to get bought out, but for a fair price. This is our home. This is where we make our living. This is it. Y'all turned our paradise into a hellhole. Okay? Our paradise, what we known all our life, it is not home no more. And it's only going to get worse. Okay? It's only going to get worse. Now the next thing I want to talk about is the camper parks. Now, up until here recent, in Grand Lake, to have a camper park, you had to have a 40-foot spacing, a 6-foot privacy fence, no more than 25 campers on the property, and the police jury of that district had to sign off and approve of it. In Hackberry, you had to have a 6-foot fence and a 40-foot spacing. In Cameron, we had nothing. It was wild, wide open, Wild West. Buy the property, put as many as you can on it, maximize profit. That's what we had. And that's what we stuck with. And the locals, they don't care. The people that buy the land come from wherever, and the ones that do own the land that moved out of town, they come, put it right next to you. No fence. They don't care. Okay? They just come build it. All about the big dollar. Now, the next thing. Let's talk some numbers right here. Now, I went around and I went from camper park to camper park, and I wrote down the number of campers versus locals from here to the Y. Now, any of y'all rode around here and looked around?
Yeah.
How many locals do you think live from right here to that Y in either a mobile home elevated or a house? Can anyone tell me?
I say about 40.
40? Mr. McGee? No clue, huh? 48. Good job. Now, how many do you think live in a camper that own their land, own property? How many do you think there? 34. Okay. Now, I rode around from camper park to camper park, and I went and took a number. Just right here in this neighborhood, right here on the side of here, there's 178 campers with only 17 locals. At the motel, there's 107 with 3 locals live side of it. Irish Street, 37, 7 locals. Dewey Street, 100 campers, 7 locals. Alvin Street, 23, 6 locals. VJ Street, 24 campers, 4 locals. The Beach Road, 121 campers, 7 locals. And then you start over here, Fulton Street, 67 campers, no locals. Bobby's Lane, 52 campers, 1 local. PA Road 105, 36 campers, 2 locals. Parker Cross Street, 23 campers. Cedar Lane, 70 campers. Gerber Street, 188 in the Ridgecraft subdivision over there, where once had regulations where you couldn't even have 2 mobile homes on less than an acre of land, with only 6 locals living there. And Highland Street, 66 with 5 locals. That comes up to a number of 1,092 campers, not counting the 500, the park that holds 500 at the rec. With that number, it's 1,592 campers with 82 locals. Now, I times that number by 3. That's 4,776 people living amongst us that we do not even know who it is. Okay? And Trump ran on the campaign about getting all these. How many illegals do y'all think live in these parks that we live in amongst that got criminal records? Border Patrol was just picking up some the other day at this camper park in this neighborhood. But we have no one that's representing us in this district or in this whole system that cares about the people that's stuck from here to that Y. Because in 5 minutes, everyone that either works in this police jury, in this courthouse, in the tax assessor, in the clerk of court, in the judge's office, in 5 minutes, it's all in y'all rear view mirror. And we stuck living in it. We want to be bought out, but we want to be bought out at a fair price. You got to remember, you uprooting us. We didn't ask for this to come. We just need someone, any of y'all, the sheriff, the judge, that got any power to sit down with these people and buy us out, and y'all can have the town. Okay? Now, the next thing I want to start on is numbers. Well, we're going to go to the fishing side, fishing part right here. Okay, what we're dealing with as a fisherman in this town. We have no one at the port board. They don't care about us. She is not representing us. And I want to ask you all a question. How can we get fair representation if the people that's supposed to be representing the people work for the corporation they're supposed to be protecting us from? Okay? When Mr. Scott Trahan sat in your seat, Mark, do you think you can get fair representation for the people if you working for the corporation?
No, that's why I run.
Thank you, and I appreciate you doing that and standing up. Okay? So, and then, gotta calm down a little bit.
Take a breath.
So you got the fair representation. Now, Mr. Wendell, not to call you out or nothing, but you do business with Venture 2, right? Every day. So do you think it's fair that we would get fair representation for the people if it came down to either you or the people? That would be like me coaching a baseball game, but being the umpire behind the plate. Anytime there's a close call, it's going to go my way, not the other team's way. Right? Would y'all all say that's fair?
Depends on the level of integrity.
Yes.
People with a high level of integrity can make a wise decision.
Yes, and I agree. Okay? So, as I did as much research as I could in 4 days, and one thing I want to address, and another thing that we're dealing with as fishermen in this port and what's going on in this port is, back when Mr. Kirk Burley was sitting there in one of y'all seats representing us, he went and got donations for $900,000 to buy a dock for the fishermen where we would have a place that he knew, because he knew one day this was all coming and it was going to be hell for the locals and the fishermen. Okay? So he went and raised $900,000. All he needed was $300,000 more to purchase the property that lies right north of where the new boat launch is. Okay? Now, Mr. McDaniel, Thomas McDaniel, sat in one of y'all seats also. And he went right underneath and bought it out from under. Now, I went and looked at the law, and it reads, a person holding a police jury position likely cannot legally buy land that the police jury is actively trying to purchase for the public. Such act likely violates state ethic laws, conflict of interest regulations, and laws, as it uses unpublic information for personal gain. He bought that land in 2011 for $1.5 million. He turned around and sold it in 2022 for $2.7 million. If that ain't personal gain, what is? Okay? So, we got screwed out of that deal. Nothing was done. Nobody said nothing. It went under the rug. No problem. Keep on going. Now, Mr. Daigle, do you remember me, you, I think Miss Katie was here, Sarah Roy, Kim Monte, Port Board? We had that little private meeting to help the fishermen. Do you remember that when we talked about
a town hall meeting? We were supposed to do the dock, and we was getting with
y'all for it. And y'all sat there and y'all like, look, we need ideas. What y'all need? And we was like, well, first, really, we need ice and dock space. Mm-hmm. And y'all sat there and y'all said, and y'all gave us a little hope. And y'all said, well, hey, Port Board owns where the old Pogey plant used to be. We can put all y'all tied there, build a nice little awning, put limestone. The public can come right there and buy seafood right off the boat. How does that sound? That's great. We need that. Well, 6 months later, EPS is getting bought out from back there. The Port Board leases it to an oil dock. Now they sitting there. We have nowhere to go. They done leased all to revolve around this plant. And I don't blame the plant. The plant is for the greater good for America. But for the people that's in this community from here to that Y, that's dealing with all the bad stuff, it's terrible for us. So, they done leased all the land, all the way up to right here, where they took the 900,000 from the people, and they got some other funds and put into this shrimp shop that we have here that recently closed down. Well, guess what? There's 6 boats tied there right now that an oil dock has now about to lease and run them 6 boats out. So, and they have nowhere to go. Where are them 6 boats going to go? They don't have nowhere to go. Thank God that the little bit of the people that own the land, like the Roy Bailey and them, and the Henry, some of the property, David, that they're generous enough to let us tie at some of these docks. And it's only a matter of time before they wind up selling out, because they already doing, every day you see them doing surveying. When you see surveying, it ain't long. Here they come with a new company running you out. Because nobody's going to let a fisherman tie there versus when they can make millions of dollars. That's stupid. That's only going to go so far. So the problem we facing as fishermen in this community is we have nowhere to tie our boats, nowhere to unload our product, and nobody cares that represents us. It's all about the big dollar. So what I suggest is Venture and our representatives get together and actually sit down with the community and come up with something fair, a buyout really, because this town is not fisherman friendly. It's anti-fisherman. A fisherman is about the worst you can be in this town. For the people that sit here with the power, everybody looks down on a fisherman, but as soon as you need seafood, who they call? The fisherman. And we treat them with respect and kindness, knowing when they leave, they'll probably be talking about you as soon as they leave. But we do it, because that's who we are as a community. Now, another thing, when y'all sold the road right here, when y'all sold the road to the plant, now you can do that. But right here, the research I did, it clearly states, a parish or governor authority may formally abandon or revoke a road if it is determined to be no longer needed for public purposes. Now, at the time, it was needed because that was the only boat launch we had here for the fishermen to launch and go do what we do, make a living. But no, nobody cared, and nobody stood up, and nobody stopped it. We just got a road bought out, and we ain't had nowhere to launch. We had to make our own launches at different places off the bank. So do you see where I stand here today and try with this frustration of what we going through and with no one representing us? No one. If y'all do, we don't see it. So if y'all want to make a difference and y'all want to have a little bit of honor and dignity, please try to start making a stand for us. It's too late to save the town. That's done. Our town's over with. That's over with. But you sit down, and they should sit down with us and have a fair buyout. Not when they going around trying to nickel and dime people, getting whatever they can for cheap. Because you cannot leave here and buy land and build a house for no $150,000, $200,000 a day offering. There ain't no way. I've been pricing land all around. So, I did some numbers. Now you can go around. Now this is just numbers I did and what I think's fair and what a baseline start of where they should go around and talk to people. Now anyone that lives in a mobile home that's elevated or a house, that means you and all these people we talking about meet in this community. We done went through 3 or 4 hurricanes. We done lost everything. We are not here because this is all whatever where we just want to be. This is home. This is what we know. So I went around and I did the map. And I would say anyone with an elevated home or a house, you start baseline offer $500,000. You might say, that's you crazy. No, that ain't crazy. You're paying half of it for a new home. The other half is for what you leaving behind, that you worked hard for. Like me, I worked hard for the land that I own, that I live on, and I grow a garden on, and I got 3 dogs buried in the backyard. And I'm to the point where I'm ready to give all that up to get out of this hellhole that was pushed on me from no protection from the people that represent us. So you go around $500,000, you could buy everybody out from here to Y for $24 million. That is nothing to a corporation that makes billions. Now, campers, people that live in a camper but on their property, you go offer them $250,000. You could buy everybody out for that for $8.5 million. Now you put them together, that comes up to $32.5 million to buy everybody's home from here to the Y, and you get all the locals out, and you can have one big camper park, and the plant can do what it wants. Okay? Now as the fisherman side, because we about to be ran out of this port. Any day, we will be ran out of this port, and there ain't nobody going to be shedding a tear. But we not going to leave quietly, and we not going to leave without something. You go and offer them $1 million. You say $1 million to a fisherman. What the heck? No. This is based on a 10-year buyout at $100,000 a year. You offer them $1 million up front to leave and never come back to this port, and they can control it. Y'all can control it. The port board, y'all can do what y'all want then. Because this is CP2 coming. They got CP3 coming. Commonwealth, one over there north of the ferry. It ain't getting no better, and they damn sure ain't going to let no fishermen. They don't want no fishermen in the way. So you go right now, because it needs to happen sooner than later. You go and you offer them that $1 million. That's 10 years buyout at $100,000. That's fair to leave. And you got to leave and go find a new port and learn how to make a living there. So that might take you 3 to 5 years to figure out how the tides work, where to be when the weather's like this or that. Because we grew up, generation after generation, getting taught where to be and how to fish these waters. And we get pushed out. And no one cares. Fighting the fishing act, no one wants to hear a fisherman complain about his living getting took. Nobody cares about that. So I'm hoping that the people that's hearing about what the community part is dealing with, as our kids on these school buses playing Russian roulette with your life every time you get on that road to go to school, because it's set up for disaster. You have a plant with all these thousands of workers coming, and if you late for work more than so many times in so long of a period, because when I worked back there for CP1, if you was late more than 3 times, you was fired. So you got all these people that got their livelihoods, they trying to provide for their family, and they get stuck behind these buses and all in this fog, and they know, I got to hurry up and get here, get in that turnstile and swipe my card, or I'll be fired. So it's set up for a disaster. Not to mention, they about to add a 3rd lane, I heard, right? Am I correct, Mr. Daigle? Is there a mention of they about to build a 3rd lane right here?
I know there's something being talked about, but I don't know for sure.
Okay, well, I see the flag. Or a 4-lane, even worse. So when all that, when that construction starts, just think about the traffic that us locals is going to be dealing with, on top of what we already dealing with. So it's only going to get worse for the community. It's too late to fix the community. So buy us out for a fair offer and let us go live somewhere peacefully, not right next to a plant that we didn't want nothing to do with. Now, when I base my numbers on these buyouts, the reason why, if anybody says that's too much, let me break some numbers down. Venture Global in 2022, the revenue was $6.4 billion, a net income of $1.6 billion. In 23, it was $7.8 billion with 22% growth with $2.6 billion. In 24, it went down, and the only reason it went down is because they were selling product before on the spot market, and they can get more for it then than to their investors with the contracts. So once they did that, once they got caught on that, it went to $5 billion a year that year. Now last year in 25, the total revenue was $13.8 billion, 177% growth. A net worth of $2.3 billion. Now, while CP3 was getting built, one was getting built and has been done up until CP2 started. They managed to save $15.1 billion to invest in CP2 of their own money that they made off of CP1. So you telling me they couldn't have took that $100 million and bought us locals out from here to the Y, where we can get the hell out of this hellhole? That's what my numbers are based on. And then you have the CEO, Michael Sable of Venture Global on Wall Street, bragging about how they are the fastest growing industry, how they can build their plants the fastest and at the lowest cost. The lowest cost. They can build them at the lowest cost, and they can start producing more product than anyone else while in construction. So why can't they come around and what they done should have before this even got to where it's at today? I feel like the judge, the sheriff, and y'all, the jurors of this community, should have sat down with them and had a plan in place and talked to the community to see, well, this is what's coming, because we had no warning of just how much was about to be thrown on us. We just heard of a LNG plant's coming. It's going to save the town. The taxes, it's going to pay for all this. It's going to be great for the school. It's going to do this for the community. What have they done for this community? Because I ain't seen it. I ain't seen it. They have done nothing for this community that I've seen to make a difference in my life and any of these people's life. I can promise you that. But we got sold a golden goose and ended up with a rotten chicken egg. So with that,
Brandon, to give you a breather, greatly appreciate your voice. I mean, that's what it takes. It takes something I learned as a rookie juror is things are a lot more complicated than what society makes it out to be. But you taking a stand, and I hope that this isn't the last stand you take. A man should be proud of his community.
And you're right.
And at the end of the day, it takes that collaboration of everybody. And I agree. Unfortunately, this jury was not the total jury that, had that. But what I have learned in a few years is that we have to hit it on the early stages of talking about these projects. We were talking about Commonwealth already, thinking ahead about traffic and things. Look, it hits home talking about my little boy broke his arm when Cameron LNG was being built. I got stuck in that traffic for 35 minutes. Trying to go around, Calcasieu Sheriff would not let me around with a broke arm. So I know what it's like, man, and it is a struggle. And I hope there's greater days ahead. I mean, I really hope that we see tax money. I hope we see growth. I hope we see our schools. I hope to see young guys just like you and me come back to Cameron Parish, because we have gotten beaten. I know we have. Hurricanes, projects, I get it. And just look, we're not going to fix all this in one day, but I think we can start talks with DOTD. I think we can start talks with the Cameron Parish Sheriff's Department. I think we can make a difference. I think we can talk to Venture Global. Maybe something about shift change. There's tons of options. But unless a person comes to this podium and has the courage to stand up like you did, it doesn't happen. So I thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. But what I'm saying is, it's too late to fix the community. That's the main thing we need to do. It's too late. So someone needs to sit down with them and maybe put some pressure on them. I mean, I feel like if the judge can suspend Commonwealth's permits, she got to have a little bit of power to be able to protect and serve her people, along with the sheriff.
Well, she has to follow statute, and that's what.
And I understand that. I'm just saying
President,
hypothetically.
can I ask, Mr.
Yeah, go-
Martin a question?
Go ahead, Mr. Nunes.
So, the school bus, you say you've talked to the sheriff?
Yes. And I called the state representative, spoke with him also about it. And they are working on some things. But like I told them, this ain't something that started the day that this fire lit in me. Why no one that's in the system that's supposed to be thinking of these things, why it took a fisherman to give them the idea and tell them what was going on? Why was no one riding around and I wasn't the first one to complain. The bus, in fact, okay, the morning that this fire was really lit, I went to that schoolhouse and I started on the principal. And the principal looked me in my eyes and she said, "We have spoken to the sheriff. The sheriff said there's nothing he can do about it." The sheriff gave a number to Miss Heidi Bascalapi, which is vice principal. She called him and said, "Listen, all we ask is when the bus is trying to get in and out of the roads, tell the traffic to let them out." And they said, "There's nothing we can do about it." So I left there and went to that sheriff's office to talk to the sheriff. I was unable to, but I got to talk to Mr. Jake McCain. And they sat down, and like he said, "What is the problem? I don't live here. I don't see it." That, I said, exactly. That is the exact problem. Everyone in the system that's supposed to be looking out for the community is not here dealing with it and seeing it. So I left there. By the time I made it from right here, where my house is 5 minutes down the road, when the traffic ain't backed up, it wasn't backed up at this time. This was about 10:30. The sheriff has done called the principal, and the principal called me and told me all what the sheriff said that they was going to do after I done told them things that they needed to do, gave them ideas of what needed to be done since they didn't see it. And oh, by the way, we didn't talk to the sheriff. It was someone else we talked to. So when I was in her chewing her butt out, she was looking me in the eyes and told me, "We talked to the sheriff. You need to go up there. We need more parents going up there raising hell." But by the time it circled back, oh, we didn't talk to the sheriff. It was someone else.
So maybe, Mr. Katie, I don't know if you talked to the sheriff or not, but
I talked to him. He reached out to me over the weekend, and we setting up a meeting.
he's a smart guy. I'm sure.
And I understand that, and that's what we talked about.
Maybe we need an escort for the.
And that's what I said, and Mr. Jake McCain said, "I can guarantee you we can't escort no bus around."
Yeah.
I said, "Oh."
So it's unacceptable for the kids.
Yeah.
Some of the other stuff we can't do anything about, but the school bus.
It's priority number one. Should be.
My question about it is, what's gonna happen if a kid does get killed because they're late? They're stopped trying to let them off.
They don't stop this
Run
school bus
around, they
stop
don't
to
stop.
Now I tried to get the school bus driver. So one of them had to teach, and one of them, their husband has been diagnosed with cancer, so she's dealing with that. But they can sit here and tell you horror stories about how it's operated when they got trying to stop and let the kid out with the stop signs out. Cars are still going around them, as many as they can, trying to hurry up, all the way into the kids about to walk out in the lane and get ran over.
There can't be many buses coming to Cameron.
There's only one. One.
I think we can probably handle one bus. So.
That's what I'm saying. And listen now.
Shouldn't even get to this.
Last week, when all this fire erupted, one more thing, I got the phone call from the principal. "Hey, your kid needs to wake up 15 more minutes earlier to accommodate for this traffic that we don't want nothing to do with." Now my little boy had to wake up at 5:45 in the morning to catch the bus to make it to a schoolhouse that's 13 minutes away.
For 7.
Yes, 13 minutes away on a normal traffic time. Driving the speed limit. Can you imagine that? A 6-year-old boy, when now he's 7, having to wake up at 5:45 in the morning to go to a schoolhouse that's right down the road that should only take about 25 minutes at the most for the school bus to pick up the few kids that's here and get over there. but yet my kid has to accommodate for this traffic that we don't want no part of. You know, that's ridiculous. And one more thing, Mr. Sonny, why is there not a street sweeper sweeping Marshall Street from Ann Street to that little ferry? Why do we have to drive our personal vehicles through all this mud, cement powder, rocks, and everything else? And over here where this dredge pipe runs through, you got to drive through clumps of mud the size of your head sometimes. Why is that? Why is there not
We
one?
work with DOT and get that done. I mean, we don't want to say like we're sitting here blind. Sometimes it seems like we are. We're hearing this for the first time, but this bus issue, been more than happy to jump on that. That's the first I've heard of it. And the street sweeping,
Yeah.
being that Marshall Street, that's a DOTD, we can work on them to get that done.
See, there's one that runs on Davis Street. They allowed only to run to the stop sign and back. That is doing nothing for the community that try to drive this road every day and deal with this. You can't keep a vehicle clean. And you cannot tell me it should take a fisherman, one local, to come up with this idea. You cannot, do you come through this road?
Yes. Come through that a lot.
On your personal vehicle or your
Personal
company?
vehicle. I don't have a company.
Okay. So, do you notice when you drive through here, when you get back home and you look at your vehicle, do you see what it looks like?
I live on a gravel road, so
Okay. Well, you would think I live on a 2-mile gravel road. Okay.
There's a lot of points here that the girls are taking notes on, and we're gonna take. Look, when you talk about road cleaning, that's part of the permit. That should be
Exactly, because when I worked in Cameron, LNG,
That's right.
and Hackberry, on a rural road in the middle of nowhere, they had a street sweeper running 24/7 when I worked there.
As part of the permit process, it's supposed to be happening.
It should not be the way it is right now.
I agree.
Yeah, it should have been in place a long time ago. When day one started, it should have been running.
Brandon, don't let this be the end, man. Stay in touch with us. Let's continue to work in the right direction. And I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Daigle.
So look, Brandon, I usually stay till last because I talk too much. They don't like.
But he's gonna cut it short today.
Yeah. But what I want to tell you, I'm very impressed with you coming in here having the courtesy to hold him, because I was once you. It's sad you got to be pushed over the edge to do that, but learning something when I got in here, until people like you come in here and complain, well, I'm not going to be a juror that tells you you're in here with the half truth, because I think you're pretty factual. So I won't do that as it was done to me. But what I will say is, I done sat down with the sheriff and talked about the traffic. I done watched trucks time and time again in the middle of the two curves right there across from the Overall Bailey Construction, with my own kids almost get run over because they come around the curve at 60 miles an hour. So I've been talking. Unfortunately, Mr. Chris could only do what VG allows him to do with what they want to spend for his deputies, because it's not necessarily the sheriff's department to do that. It's I guess a option that they can do, and all these deputies that are working it are off duty and stuff like that. But I've been in a lot of communications with that. I do see a lot of stuff that needs to happen, and the hard things like sitting down and talking about this fishing pier with VG that we've been pushing over for, 2 years now, fellas? Because that is another thing that they cut off to the parish. They built a boat launch that cannot accommodate. I see a lot of familiar faces in here. I talked to them about ripping their axles off their boat trailers. Different things like that. Can't launch a boat. Shit. I went over there with my 18-foot party boards and talked to Miss Sarah Roy and myself. She said she sits there all day long and watches boats, no problem. Well, I sent them a video of me on my personal time with 4 people pushing an 18-foot party boards off. That's a little baby boat.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is, I hear you, and I promise you, I'll do everything I can. I might just piss people off over this issue, but they will hear it from me.
Well, I appreciate that.
So I just wanted to let you know that on my behalf. And I hear you, because I might not live in Cameron, but I live in Creo. It's not as bad, but it's just as bad. So,
That's a record. I'm proud of you. Cut that short.
Now, one more issue. Mr. Sonny, where is your residence where you live?
Johnson Bike.
Johnson Bike. You have no other residence anywhere in Boulevard?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
I have another home, yes.
Okay. So you live in your home in Johnson Bayou, or is that just your residence and you live in Boulevard?
I live in Johnson Bayou.
Be careful.
But I spend a lot of time in the Boulevard.
Okay,
You
because
really need to be careful on that one.
because
you
I-
are a resident of this parish.
Hey,
Sir?
You and I are
Excuse me.
resident of this parish. You live in Boulevard.
Hey.
You shouldn't be on the police.
Mr. Brandon's
You should
here
be
to
gone.
speak, not the audience, so go ahead, Mr. Brandon.
now
I don't
let's,
know if that solves your problem. I mean,
You need to be gone. You hear? You do nothing for this community.
Hey.
For this parish.
I don't know if that solves your problem, but it doesn't matter
Yes,
where.
getting rid of you would solve some of it.
And that would do what?
You do nothing. Zero.
Sir,
Zero.
please stay respectful.
yes.
Hey, do we not work together on just about everything?
Listen,
Shit.
can I finish,
That's
please?
a joke.
Okay, so you say you live in Johnson Bayou. Now I went and filed a request for your address, and if I go there, I'm gonna find you there. I'm not gonna find no one you renting this place to.
You don't
correct?
find nobody renting, no.
Okay, and if I go there multiple days during the week, you gonna be there any of them days?
Some days.
Okay, so pretty much you got that as your domicile address.
Where I live.
Yes, okay. Now, and then you bought a place in Boulevard.
Yes.
Now, I looked up the definition means a home you treat as your permanent legal resident, the place you intend to return indefinitely, even if you live elsewhere temporarily while you do not need to live there every single day. But you must have clear intent of returning to that home and making it be your home base.
Yes.
Is that clear intent that you left there and went and bought another place where you spend majority of your time?
You know why I have that other place?
Why?
The same reason most people have more than one place, because of the storms we've been having. That's why I bought that place.
Okay.
I have a place to go. Now, it has been eating a lot of my time, because I built a place big enough to bring my cows out, but my cows got to get out for the storm. So look, I'm not going to make any excuses to any of you people. I live where I want to live. That's my home.
And that's
it's
fine.
always going to be my home.
That's
where I went to school, where my grandkids go to school, and for whatever I do on my personal time, my damn business. You understand?
Yes, sir.
My service. Now, let me tell you something. You want to bring my service into the thing, we can take questions all day long.
Hey,
I'm just talking. Hey, I have a right to respond.
yeah.
Yes.
We can take this up anytime you want to, and we discuss any issues you want to discuss.
Well, my point I'm getting at is
Brandon.
no one ran against you, correct? And you
That's right.
really didn't want the
That's
position?
right. I didn't say that. No one.
What I'm
nobody
saying
ran
is,
against me.
if I go there and you not living there, it says what I researched, everything I researched, it said to represent a district, you must live in that district, not have a home in that district. So I, as a person, I think you should resign and either let Mark take your position or y'all let me go qualify and I'll take your position to fight for my community in District 1. Thank you. Thank you.
Drop the pen.
Okay, Brandon, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Next green card, Daiquiri Shop, too close to church. I'm sorry, I can't read the name written on there. Too good. Sorry about that.
My name's Brian Ward. I'm representing the First Baptist Church. They, you and Sonny, y'all pushing it to get that Daiquiri Shop, right?
I wouldn't say pushing it, I'm just
Come
pushing.
on, Mark.
No, let me answer
Let's
your
go.
question.
I know what's going on.
I'm pushing for a person, any person, to do what they can buy a permit. I'm not pushing for the Daiquiri Shop.
It's on
or
the
for
ground. It's over there right now, on the ground, tied down, and y'all wanting to get an office permit. Sonny and you. I know all this already. Right?
It's a temporary permit.
Right?
Yes.
Right? So what, nobody else could do that. What makes you think y'all two can let them put that Daiquiri Shop 272 foot from the church?
Well, I think you're misstating, because I'm trying to allow everybody to do anything they can and take every rules off. Matter of fact, half the state staff hates me.
Not
because
272 foot from our church that we got the money to rebuild this church. They put the money in the bank and we're gonna rebuild that church. We don't want a daiquiri shop. You don't want, they already go to the store and buy a beer and leave. What you gonna do? Go straight there? They're not gonna put it in the back seat when they get it. They gonna drink it. All that traffic.
I agree.
And Sonny and you were pushing to get it.
What we're pushing for is not so much to get it, like it doesn't benefit
Y'all
us in
pushing
any way,
for
shape,
her to
or
get
form.
the
What we're
liquor.
trying to do
Sir,
is
let him speak, please.
get our permitting right to where they have to go through us first. Then they gotta get a liquor permit,
Yeah, but
gotta
you
get all the
were
different things they gotta do.
for it.
So there's
We're
a,
pushing for the permitting office to streamline and allow things to happen in Cameron. Because
On the
Cameron
ground.
dying, everybody knows Cameron dying.
On the ground.
The same people complain to us about RV parks today, where there's people in here that own that property, they came in here and complained they wanted it.
Back to Cameron, we couldn't even have a shed on the ground.
How many
And y'all gonna let
square
them
foot
put
is
a
that?
daiquiri shop on the ground?
well, this is what I want to say, Mr. Bryan. First off, when you say pushing for it, you're right. I'm pushing for the permit because she has the right. Now, whether or not she can get whatever, I don't care. That's none of my business.
How far does it have,
But-
it's gotta be 300 foot from the church.
I have no clue how far anything got to be.
Yeah,
That's for the
300 foot.
alcohol people to say.
300
But
foot,
what
I went and measured, it's 272 foot from our church.
it could be 6 inches. That's not my department. That's up to alcohol. But what I'm saying, I'm not in here pushing for any one person. I'm here pushing for everybody. And the reason why you ain't had that back then is because none of the jurors educated themselves enough to be able to take all these government burdens off of anybody. So saying I'm pushing for the alcohol thing is besides the point. What I am pushing for is if it says on paper a person could do it no matter what it's for, that is our God-given right. And it's America. It's free.
You can't do it on the ground.
That's what I'm saying. How many
I
square
think,
feet?
I'm done with-
At the end of the
Why is it
day,
on the ground?
I think what
Hey, thank
they're
you.
referring
You
to
didn't sign it.
is state statute with the distance, right, Miss Katie?
Yes, that's a state statute, and I think our permit department did go out and measure it. They thought it was over 300 feet. He's saying it's less than 300 feet, so we need to get someone else involved.
From property to property.
It's from door to door, Mr. Bryan, and I'm only familiar with that because I kind of went through that process.
Well,
Thank you.
it's damn close.
We'll follow up with it and recheck the distance.
Thank you, Mr. Bryan. Okay, next green card, Anthony Terrio, oysters and dredge mud.
How y'all doing, Anthony Terrio? I'm just coming back to see if,
There's anything, I'm not trying to cut you down, but in any possible way, can we try to minimize as much as we can?
yeah, okay,
if possible?
no problem.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering about the letter and everything. Y'all voted on it last meeting and, you know, the disaster letter. Did something ever get accomplished with that?
Did we ever get anywhere with the letter? I guess he's.
We did draft the letter requesting the study, but you did not vote to request a disaster declaration or anything. You just voted for us to send the letter to a
Wildlife and Fisheries, and then I've been in communication with Mr. Danny and you mentioning about the OEP thing. So we
Mr. Nunez.
down, but there was no doubt.
I know they received it.
Okay.
And, in fact, I talked just briefly with one of the guys over at the police jury convention. So there is some progress being made as far as
Okay, and
investigation.
how he brought up about, Kim talked about the dredge mud and all that. The mud we're driving through is because them pipes are leaking right here at the road. And I mean, that's where the dredging is starting. So for us to see them pipes leaking, how do y'all want us to believe that that mud's not leaking out there in all these other pipes? I mean, you know, why not get up here and have the dredge company come here and explain to us how this dredge mud is moved? You know, why not have a 1-800 number or whoever to contact when we see problems? I mean, that mud came out of no name from July the 20th to August the 4th. Who got it stopped was a jury member that knows nothing about mud. Your job is not to know how to move mud, how to stop mud, where mud goes, and that's not our job either. Why? I mean, if we wouldn't have reported that, I mean, it would still be coming out there. I mean, when we see a problem, there should be a number to call and report and them stop it. I mean, there was a spill, you know, at CPRA meeting in Abbeville. You know, they said that there was a spill around Christmas time, that they had drone satellite footage of it coming out of Lambert Bayou. I mean, I don't understand how she can get up here and say that it wasn't. I mean, it was at a CPR meeting in Abbeville. They said that they had another spill around Christmas time, that they wasn't pumping at the time, but the settlement still was moving and coming out. I mean, so does the settlement still come out? Yes. You know, if it doesn't, go open no name and let's see if any settlement will come out. You know, if you want to see if settlement's back there and if settlement will come out, let's go open no name and let's see what comes out. Because I promise you, settlement's going to come out. You know, but for Kim to come up here, she represents me too. I'm an oyster farmer. She represents David Sorrell with Salt Revival, Pig and Rooster. She represents the oyster ranch, but she will not come up there and speak upon our behalf. You know, she knows nothing about dredge mud, just like she knows nothing about oysters. But she does know, she's seen them oysters when we started this park, and she knows what they look like, and she knows what they look like now. She could get up here and tell everyone how much of a difference it is now. You know, and how we waited 18 months to sell oysters that we can't do anything with. I mean, you know, that is worthless.
Mr. Anthony, have you attended one of those meetings and spoke to the board?
No, that's what I say. We used to have AOC park. We didn't go to a port board meeting. We had AOC park meetings. Yeah. We have not had one of them. I mean, nothing.
Those have halted. They're stopped.
We haven't had anything. We used to bring people out there all the time that had nothing to do with oysters or the port board. Anyone that they wanted to show what was going on. I mean, we were bringing pageant girls out there to take pictures with oysters. I mean, anyone. I mean, we were using our own equipment so she didn't have to rent boats from Patrick Hebert. I mean, we've done everything, you know, to help, you know, save them money and you know, progress this. I mean, we went a whole year of not making $1. You know, I understand the oyster ranch forwarded most of the bill. You know, he's right. But we were there. We dedicated our time too. I mean, that's all worth, a year of time is worth something. I mean, to get nothing out of this now is not right.
Yes, sir. I'll make sure to pass it on to the president as well. They need to get involved with y'all.
You know, but the traffic on the road too is not, is the water is just as bad, you know? I mean, I understand the ship channel, we've always dealt with ships and everything else. But when we turn in that old river to shrimp, this shrimp season, and you have all them barges tied up in there, it does not matter. We do not have to move out their way. You know, it is gonna become a problem. You know, it will. Because that old river is our shrimping ground, you know, and we're going to shrimp there, you know, and we're not moving for it. It doesn't matter, you know what, that's not the ship channel. That's not, you know, that's not their place.
It's not the proper navigational channel.
You know, we shrimp there. I mean, go look at the traffic that's in there now. I mean, they got rock barges in there that move rock from one barge to another, you know, that just us passing by, I mean, see all these rocks falling into the water and everything else. And I understand it's out of sight, but still, it's still going on. I mean, none of this is, you know, being talked about.
Yes, sir.
All right, I appreciate y'all thinking. But and the other thing is, I would like, you know, it to be put on the agenda. For every agenda, you know, we should know what's going on with the dredge mud until this is over with. You know, we should know if there's any spills or anything that we need to be watching for. You know, as a fisherman out there, we shouldn't have to go by and check to see if any mud's leaking. I mean, that's, you know, settlement coming out. No, that's not fair. You know, our job is to go fishing, you know.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Philip Dyson, Jake Breaking.
I come here about 5-6 months ago about Jake Breaking. I live on the corner of School Street. He got one of the worst trucks around. He got a white truck. and that sucker will rack his pipes every time he comes down there. From 2 o'clock in the morning to daylight, you will not sleep. I sleep at night from 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock, and I'm up. I'll soon go fishing because I can't sleep. Y'all supposed to pass the ordinance. It ain't happening.
Ms. Katie, give an update on it?
Yes, sir.
Well, still don't see no signs. How long can I go without
It
sleeping?
takes a little while.
Well, I put rope across my street because the sheriff department won't do their job. I put 1.5 anchor line, 3 lines. 48 hours later, I worked 9,000 pounds of shrimp that day. I loaded 6,000 pounds on a freaking trailer by hand. Baskets by hand in the trailer. All ice, filled that trailer up with shrimp, carried ice. Ice started 3,000 pounds of shrimp up in boxes on the deck of the boat. I get home at 10:30 at night, 12 o'clock, they're at my house trying to arrest me for having rope across the road because they can't slow the traffic down. Well, the sheriff department sent a deputy over there to slow the traffic down. They are writing warning tickets because they don't want the guys to lose their job. What about this guy that hears that noise 24 hours a day, that can't sleep and got to go up every morning to go to work? Like this boy was talking about $100,000 for this pass. I made $100,000 in this pass since January, shrimping. Hauled out of here by truck and trailer because it's not a fish house here no more. Because y'all give it to somebody from New Orleans, they care less about us. And then we're gonna give a fish house to a freaking oil company. The oysters in Calcasieu Lake, I went oystering one day, love oysters. I've been fishing oysters for 51 years on my own. 51 years. I went and caught me some oysters, I shucked them. I got up the next morning, I fried some. I could smell something. I can't hardly smell since COVID. I told my wife, I said, smell this. She said, I'm not eating that. I dumped 5 quarts of oysters in the trash can, walked to the road and threw it away. Because I won't eat it. I want nobody else to eat it. Now, we're starting to butterfly in this channel. A lot of traffic, a lot of tugboat traffic in this channel, a lot. They're trying to run over us through towing barges, won't let us do. Tugboats running wide open in our river, tearing our boats up. I got the other day, Jack, J-A-X, was wide open, throwing away from about this side. Called him up and wouldn't answer. I called him up and wouldn't. Finally, I called it U-Bob Doxy. He's on one of them Morse Marine boats. But the guy heard me call him, didn't answer. I called the Coast Guard. Coast Guard gonna have somebody here probably this week. Probably this week. Now this been going on for 5 years. They've been tearing our freaking boats up. We just got off shipyard with a $13,000 shipyard bill. LNG ship coming down the channel the other night. I'm sitting there unloading 9,000 pounds of shrimp off the boat. Here come the LNG ship. They was going so fast, pulling a tugboat so fast behind him on the road, it smashed a 4-inch rub rail on the shrimp boat. Still, a steel boat, not a wood boat, a steel boat. Smashed the rub rail in that far of a steel piece of steel, pipe, cut in half. It smashed. That's how hard he was beating me against the damn dock. How long are we supposed to take this? Who's going to help us? Who can help us? Somebody needs to help us.
Ms. Katie, the ordinance should be in place, correct?
Yes, sir. The ordinance is in place. We did put in an order for signs. Because it's a state road, we have to coordinate with that. I'm trying to get an update from Alex. But it's in place.
So they're referring to the Jake break, but we also have another ordinance talking about wake as well. I mean, we're.
Wake ordinance?
Yeah, wake ordinance.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the channel, I was in the channel,
in the loop.
But I was in the loop, it was the day before yesterday, in this tugboat, nobody told me. I'm working for Valencia Global, I work for Patriot. I got to get over there and help this tug in the channel now. I said, well, you should have left 15 minutes ago, dude.
Where was you at in the loop, Mr. Phillips?
I was at my dock, where there's Royal Bailey Shell Pile.
Okay.
And he passed it, he had water coming over the bow of the tugboat, that's how fast he was running in the river.
Katie, where did we expand the no wake zone?
This is the loop.
Is it the whole loop?
It's that location.
I don't recall that by memory.
Let us check on that, Mr. Phil.
Okay,
But these ordinances do take a little bit to get them through. And
I understand that. How long can we go? I mean,
I agree. Appreciate it, Mr. Phillips.
okay.
Thank you. Next up, Cooper Fournette dredging operations.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your time. I came today to hear the presentation from Ms. Monty, and I didn't prepare to speak, but I don't feel like you guys are being told the full truth about what's going on with the dredging operations. She came and talked to you guys about the August incident. After the August incident, there was, I guess, kind of a task force put together with different governmental agencies, including Department of Environment, Natural Resources, Wildlife and Fisheries. Venture Globe, yes.
Are you, I know your name's Cooper Fournette, but are you representing a company or who are you representing?
No, I'm here as a concerned citizen.
Okay, concerned citizen. Thank you. That's what I was wondering.
When that task force was set up, all those communications with that task force are public record. They're available on the internet. You can follow their emails and watch what they're talking about. And I'll follow it and read it. And just within the last 3 months, a question was asked if there's been any other incidents. There have been 3 other incidents involving release of dredge spoil that was not discussed with you guys today. I think Mr. Terrio mentioned the one in December. There's an email that these are my copies, but I'll share them with you guys. It's an email from Peter Bell of Venture Global advising of a 10 to 15 foot opening in a berm that allowed dredge spill to be released. In January 2026, January 16th, there was a slurry line that busted because of a pressure spike that allowed dredge spill material to be released. And then just as recently as February 18th, there was a slurry line that had a hole in it that was allowing spoil to be released. And as Ms. Monty at that time, No Name Weir was opened. Venture Global halted operations at that time. So I just feel like you guys deserve to know the full story, the whole truth, and the people that you represent deserve to know the whole truth as well. So that's the only reason I'm here, is to give you guys that information that there is more than just the August 8th spill.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Robert Doxey Sr.
Boom.
How y'all doing?
Pretty good.
My name's Robert Doxey Sr., a.k.a. C-Bob, known as Little Shrimp. Thank you, Boo Boo, for what you did today. And my question is, this permit y'all want to do, or they're trying to do, Marshall Street right there on the corner.
Mm-hmm.
How many square feet is that building?
I think it's 400.
It's 400?
Yes, sir. From my understanding, it's just looking at the permit.
Yeah, it looks bigger than me, but reason why I'm asking, because I'm tired of living in a camper, and every time, I did have a park model before. I stayed in Cameron 8 years. I moved to the Creole. Put my porch and everything on it. I get a letter from the police jury, says stop construction, come to the police jury. I get over there, they tell me I gotta go up in the air with a park model. And while it was over here at 104 Ellen Street, it was considered as a camper. They said it changed the rule. So I had to go up. Well, hurricane hit, truck broke down, couldn't pull it out, lost it. Went to get another one. Well, the people in Hollow Beach had 2 of them flat on the ground. I asked Miss Robin, wherever she's at. She said, y'all changed the law. So y'all changed the law as y'all go. Now you can put a shop flat on the ground. That thing probably ain't even 6 inches off the ground. So if that thing's over 400 square foot, I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna put what I want, how I want, where I want on my land. I better never see a paper from police bureau saying I got to go up in the air. That's bullshit.
Well, see, first off, that is an accessory building, and I hear you concerned, but to go back to these park models, we never changed the law. It's just, I guess, some people didn't read the papers.
Where's she at?
There ain't no law been changed. The only thing been changed was taken out that was never there.
Right there. She's right there. I had to go up with my park model.
No, I understand. A lot of people had to do that or they couldn't have them. But at the end of the day, a park model is classified as a RV, and if they're not over 400 square feet, since day one, they could have them down here. Now, why did they have them previous? Since I brought it up, I have no idea. But to me, it's clearly that people like that have their own rules and regulations.
Yeah, now you can do it.
Correct.
And I told Miss Robin that was considered as an RV. They said it was not.
Yeah, it definitely is.
You know,
And it always was. It's just how somebody reads something and they can misinterpret.
What's the reason why I can't attach my awning to that park model?
Because it has to be movable. You have to be able to move it.
If you get a hurricane today, I guarantee you Scott ain't gonna hook onto that thing and move it out. It's gonna sit right there.
Yep.
So,
It's gonna be in somebody's yard.
yeah, it's gonna be in there. Mr. Wendell, you ain't got nothing you can hand me down, a camp or nothing like that? No, that's what I want to know.
Thank you.
And I want to thank Mr. Boo Boo there for.
They did a great job.
Mr.
Thank you, Ms.
President,
Ron.
Go ahead.
Before we proceed, I just think it's important to clarify for the public record that the incidents that he was speaking of that he gave to me are not relevant to the ports permit. That is relevant to work that's being conducted by Venture Global privately, not the dredging of the loop that was permitted under the port. So I think it's important that everyone understands it's two different projects, two different permits. And so
What's the difference in the permits? Because the port project is.
Port was the loop part, and then Venture Global started their own private. So I just think it's important to clarify for the record that these are relevant to Venture Global's permits, not the ports.
So we approved another dredging permit for VG by themselves and not for the chemical.
It was not in the port's name. That work that was conducted, it's been concluded, and this is new work incidents. I'm not trying to say that it's not important to know that there were incidents, but that might be some of the reason why it wasn't reported right through the proper channels. It would have went to the regulatory agencies. It didn't come through the port to report to us.
So
Ms. Monte's
did I miss a permit?
on all those emails. She knows exactly what happened.
Yeah. So I'm getting that. I don't remember seeing a separate permit since I've been.
It is. It's two different.
She lies real good.
Okay, one last green card, Brendan Brown, dredging, KPLC.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. I'm Brendan Brown with KPLC. I just have one question. What did Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries respond with when you asked them to do an independent study on Big Lake?
I know I didn't hear a response from Wildlife and Fisheries, but I did meet with one of your staff, and according to, I forgot the gentleman's name, I think it was Mr. Richard or whatever his name was, he said I misunderstood the conversation but clarified everything I said. They did not do an independent study and everything to that nature, but I don't think the jury has received any requests. Well, I say request. I believe he responded to what I stated on record. He didn't even respond to the letter, which I'm sure you're aware of. But I mean, to me, Wildlife and Fisheries, if somebody needs to come up to the table and do something, But that's the response that I was told that Wildlife gave.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
Thank you. Hey, just for the record and for the public, I don't want any room for lack of transparency here. Moving on to our future meetings, we will hold these green cards to agenda topics only, but that's not saying that you can't come up and talk. You just need to get on the agenda and we'll put you on the agenda. And that's for the sake of trying to keep a controlled meeting, make sure that we have the right people here to answer questions and to move forward. So I don't want to think we had a great turnout, big stack of cards today. I don't want to think this has been in plan before we had this today. But just moving forward, when you want to speak, it's either got to be on an agenda topic or you have to get on the agenda. No problem. We're not trying to hold anybody. We're just trying to get it organized and make sure that we have a good flow for the meeting.
So, Mr. Field, with that being said, how can we assure when somebody wants to be on the agenda or have an agenda topic to be able to speak? How can we get on there? Because for the last 3 meetings, from where I sit, I don't think we've done too good with the agenda.
Well, we've had our
one topic is what they want us to add on today. It should have been on here.
Yeah, and moving forward, that's kind of the point behind this, is to get some structure and some organization. So we hope to have that moving forward. You can reach out to the office, and we plan on having you on there. So just to let y'all know. So the next line of business is reviewing voting agenda.
Hey, Mr. Brandon DeMarge.
Yes.
Hey, hold up, come up, would you?
Yes.
Oh, he's gonna get an autograph. Great job, buddy. Mr. President, the only question I got on reviewing the topic is 23. Why are we going to retain a professionalist to redraft the census boundaries before the census, or redraft the old one?
Mr. Tom, would you mind explaining that?
So, every 10 years there's a census, and based on the population shift, and we've had significant populations as a result of hurricanes, you all are tasked with the obligation to redraw your districts. And each of those districts, as you may have seen from the last time in 2021, 22.
Man, 1 second. Sir, can you ask them to please quiet down or exit the room there?
It becomes difficult to draw up those districts because every district's population has to be within plus or minus 5%.
Correct.
In Grand Lake and Sweet Lake particularly, there's a couple of census, I call them census precincts, districts, I don't know if that's the right terminology, that have become so populated and you can't divide it, that basically limits your all's ability to redistrict. For instance, particularly in the Grand Lake area across from Brown's Grocery, that whole area from the parish line almost south maybe to the swing bridge, all that is most of that's one big census block, and it has, I don't know, make up about 400 people. And you can't cut it up, you can't divide it up. So, and you can't wait till the census to do it. You gotta do it ahead of time because the Federal Census Bureau department has to approve the changes. And it's just geographical, and you wanna cut up those districts or those areas so that it makes it easier for you to building blocks, and the smaller the blocks, the easier it is to build your district.
And maybe I'm misunderstood, but my thing is, why are we going to redistrict something without knowing the census? Because
well,
you
not
can't foresee it.
No, not redistricting.
Well, redraft the census, and then
no. So it's not. You're not adopting any new districts, but it's one of the juries. The 20 whoever's on the jury in 2031, 32, when it comes time to draft new districts, it would be easier if we go and get those blocks cut up now.
Okay.
And it's not, it's just, and it's hiring somebody, and I have a recommendation, and it's the gentleman who does the school board. He's not even an attorney, but he can, it's geography, and you can cut it up. But you have to go to the department now and start talking, because they have to approve it before the 2030 census. So you gotta start now, if you wanna do it. But it wasn't it made it a lot more difficult to draft those districts in a fashion that was compatible with what the public wanted, because there were just limitations. You look at the way y'all's districts are up there now. That's why 2 of you are in one district, while one district is barely attached by because of those blocks. It was just impossible to cut up those blocks in such a fashion to make it.
I didn't find that
fair.
contact.
When is the next census?
Every 10 years, 2030.
So 2030.
So this last one was 2020. We had COVID and a hurricane. So that was and it was, so it's done every 10 years. And then then the districts have, like, I don't know if it's 12 or 18 months after that to do your redistricting. Most places, it's not that big a deal, because you don't have a population shift like we've had. I mean, we've had significant population shifts.
So is this for redistricting, or what is it?
It is, so when it comes time for this body to form the new districts, the police redistricts, that you can do it in a, I say easier fashion, that you're not limited. One of the problems or the limitations to this last go-round is because you had these 2 or 3 big districts that had so many people, and you couldn't cut them up.
Yeah.
And it just made it more the blocks were too big to build with.
It takes a federal approval.
It does. The federal department, Census Department has to approve, and it's just geography.
And how long do they give us after the census is done?
It's 12 to 18 months to actually redraw your districts. But if you wait, and we're almost to the point of it's getting too close to the 2030, because federal government, you think we do things slowly. We've been trying to exchange property with federal government and the school board, and it's been going on for 20 years.
Yeah.
The point is that hire somebody now to meet with y'all, especially the Grand Lake District and other districts if you have, but I don't think it's a problem except for in Grand Lake where you've got some, I say districts, some census blocks that need to be cut up. So the blocks are smaller, the populations are smaller, so it makes it easier on this body to then redistrict in the future, if necessary.
So it sounds like in hopes of more jurors or less jurors?
No, that would be up to y'all.
Right. I just.
The problem, if you looked at some of the maps that were suggested last go round, they were
all
what y'all have now. I mean, it's that Grand Lake thing is all just crazy. There's nothing symmetrical about it.
Correct.
This would give y'all the opportunity to make it more symmetrical and more practical and reasonable. If somebody looks at it, now, not knowing the demographics of our parish, they swear we had some racial gerrymandering going on. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
But that's what had to happen to get the districts equal in population.
And I think when the original census tracts the blocks were drawn, it was like in the 60s. So now you have some census tracts that have 0 residents in it versus some that used to be open cow pasture and Sweet Lake that now have 500. So ideally you would want to have equal amount of residents per census block. So when you do redistrict, you're looking at apples to apples instead of having this appropriate amount of census blocks that aren't really equally representative across the board.
We're taking big blocks and making them smaller.
Yeah,
that's it. So that y'all can have an easier job of rebuilding districts.
And you do want a census block with a resident. You don't want to have census blocks out there that is just open marsh now.
How would you make a block smaller? Just say like me and Sonny's, we're probably 50% of the parish, but we got probably one of the less population of all the jurors.
Y'all may not need your blocks redrawn or
it's not ours. It's places where the growth has been exponential.
Yeah.
And the only way you can divide it is to go by the lines that they create with this process, and then you can't just go split a district. You can't split a block.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the blocks are described by geography. This road, this ditch, this whatever. So we would like to hire somebody that does this for a living. They've got the software to do it, and take some of those bigger populated blocks in the Grand Lake and just carve them up. That's it. We're just making small blocks out of big blocks so that when it comes time for you all to decide what your districts will look like next go round, that you have those smaller blocks and have more options. Yeah.
Yep.
Because the big blocks limit your options. Yeah.
Understood.
Thank you.
Miss Katie, number 19, can you kind of explain that one? Or whoever's the right person to explain it? Okay.
Oh, yes. She is here. Okay. I will let her explain
it. Miss Litter Queen, I seen that advertised.
Good to see you again, Mr. Michael.
Hey,
yeah, my name is Alyssa Portaro. I'm the founder and director of the Habitat Recovery Project, an organization that underneath has a Fisher Family Advisory Council with some of the chairmen and members in this room. Thanks for having us up here today. Thank you, Katie, for putting us on the agenda and helping us figure out the path to seeing if we can make this happen. So I am here today because we are hoping to apply for a grant along with the Water Institute. The Water Institute is a non-advocacy scientific institution to develop a coastal monitoring program and enact water monitoring, which will be informed and executed by the local fishermen. Many of them told us they want to engage in science to do the assessment that they have been asking for, and we believe that as many parties doing assessment on what's happening in the water and to the fisheries is ideal, so we could get all of the analysis together and help you make more informed decisions. Unfortunately, Water Institute had scheduling problems, so they couldn't be here today, but one of our main team members there is Garvin Pittman, who helped design and control the weirs in the past. He's also the former board president over Coalition to Restore Coastal Louisiana. We have had them develop the monitoring plan over the last 6 months, informed by some of the fishermen who have been meeting with them and helping leverage their deep ecological water. They spend countless more hours out on the water than any scientist does. So having this conversation and bridge has been really beautiful and great. We already have proven some community-led monitoring with our air monitoring program, which we're grateful you let us host at the public library, and it's been picking up on a lot of data, as well as a hydrophone project where fishermen have helped capture over 140 recordings underwater to measure bioacoustic activity and other noises under the water. We're hoping to have solution-oriented achievements and make it a win-win for everybody to help make informed decisions about this place that we share, and are looking for you to partner for this grant opportunity that would give us funding for an additional year to run the program. We need a letter of support from a government body, which is why I'm up here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got one question for you.
Absolutely.
This Water Institute, is this a subject matter expert in water?
They are. They do the floodplain maps for Cameron Parish. They've been commissioned by you all to do science for this region before. They are non-advocacy, which means they don't get involved in bias or campaigning or legal matters or anything like that. Purely scientific, which is why we're hoping to work with them.
And that's why I asked that question. If they weren't a subject matter expert recognized as such, if we got into a legal issue, we could use them as a witness.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Mr. President, just to clarify for the record, this is just a letter of support for the grant application. We won't know if it's been awarded or not. I guess you will come back and let us know if you received the grant.
Absolutely.
So it's just for the application.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Miss Alyssa.
Thank
if
you.
If you're ever looking for somebody to pick up trash, Hackberry's a great place.
I'll let you know.
No, really do appreciate it.
Thank
I think
you.
that's cool.
Yeah, I appreciate it too.
8C.
Eight C, the Venture Global CP2 LNG. That one. Okay. I actually put in a request for Venture Global to have a representative here for this project, and I received a response that Fenstermaker, Dr. Foray, and them would be here as their consultant for this project throughout the construction of it. So at this time, I would recommend him to come up for any questions you may have. Sorry, I apologize for my voice.
Good afternoon. John Foray, CH Fenstermaker and Associates.
Mr. Foray, on this permit, I reviewed it and looked at it, and it all looked really good. I was just making sure that there was gonna be somebody with oversight over the project, and that would be you, Chris, correct?
That would be us, that's right. That was the purpose of us being brought on board in late December. Was the initial, excuse me, for the No Name Bayou project, because in a former career, I was the federal project manager for the same project.
Okay, perfect. I was just, making sure there was gonna be somebody
Yes.
looking over the project.
Yes, sir, that'll be us.
And the No Name project, is that gonna be the same project that CPRA was gonna do, or are they just utilizing the space for the dredge pool?
So the state is requiring, in an agreement, to transfer that same footprint to Venture Global, that it be built to the state's specifications, because the project initially was sold to have a certain amount of benefits rather. That being elevation of the marsh, height of the levees, all of that, which will remain the same. As you probably all know, the containment dikes have been constructed by the state.
Previous.
Right. And so all of that will be part of the transfer.
So what I was asking with, and that sounds amazing and awesome on that, the project in the lake for the CPA No Name, that is off the table, or they gotta do that also? Or this is just a spoil placement area that for No Name?
Right, so I think you're talking about the borrow area that's been identified in the lake, and that is off the table.
Okay.
With the transfer.
Yep, that's what I wanted to clarify and see.
And while I'm not a state employee, the discussion was that when legally all of this moves forward, that permit will be canceled, because there was really no interest to pursue that.
Correct. Okay, so this is just basically, the spoil placement is VG bought it, took it over, but it's gonna do it to the state's specs and recommendations.
That is correct.
Okay, appreciate that information, sir.
As far as this project, are you working for Venture?
I am working for Venture, that is correct, at the request of the state.
Okay. That's all the question I got.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Bordelon, did you get 20 answered? I know he was asking and I couldn't really. Okay. Can somebody please give us a detail on 20?
Yes, that is for the marina and boat launch at Lighthouse Bend. We do not pay for that. The permit is in our name, or the lease is in our name, but Venture Global pays for it.
Mr. President, I got one question. It has to do with permitting. E.
Good. I think
That's part of the cleanup project.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be discussed.
I don't know if y'all wanna wait.
Well, that's what I'm saying, we haven't really met on this yet, so.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me interject, because I had the same question, Mr. Miller's here. But, so the way I'll describe it, this is for the whole, it's a permit to get started. It's a permit for the entire area. It's the novel, but we gotta come back with each chapter, and we'll have to get a cut permit for each chapter, for each phase or stage that we talked about, not doing a global, but you gotta start with a global big picture. So this just gets it started. And we'll have to come back with the more particulars, which is to be determined, which we took off this morning. But this is just a global starting point. It's not a particular cup for a particular stage or phase. Does that help?
Yeah.
Any other questions on the voting agenda?
Before you adjourn, anything?
Yeah, I want to make a motion to add to the agenda, give the DA authorization to hire outside counsel for tax and bonding strategies.
Okay, we'll save the vote for the voting meeting, but if
We'll
we
do
can
an add.
please put an add on.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I want to correct something I said earlier, with Mr. Kern, straightened me out in the lobby a minute ago. On these tax consolidations, the methods that we talked about, that each special district, whether it's 6 or 2, however many, each of those districts, voting wise, do have to approve the consolidation when it's a forced,
So in essence, the way we've described it in layman's term, the smaller populated districts can't be dragged into consolidation by the larger districts when it's forced upon. So just to clarify that. There's still other options and things that we didn't even get into, such as abolishing districts and starting from scratch, which is a whole other, but that's what we need special counsel for. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that.
So no option of forced is what you're saying?
The two things that we talked about, you can't force those districts. The voting, each special district would have to vote in favor of the consolidation. The last option, which we didn't talk about earlier, in the memo I sent y'all a few months ago, the last paragraph or two talks about what I call abolishing, where you just outright abolish all the special districts. But if you abolish a district, you also, the tax goes with it, meaning you got no tax, and you'd be starting from scratch. That's like the nuclear option. But anyway, but again, special counsel will help walk through those things with you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And these generally serve each police jury district, I guess. I guess my point was each police jury district is equally represented and same amount of people.
Taxing districts and your district are not necessarily the same. They don't, you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question.
See now, you can see why we need the legal counsel.
Well, we're talking about census and your districts, which is a totally different issue than special taxing districts. Special taxing districts are already created in your ordinances. They were created years and years ago.
Council already said he needed legal counsel. So.
Thank you, Mr. Down.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
I'm good, Mr. President.
Mr. McGee? Good? Get a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Sonny, second by Mr. Johnny, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourned.
Mr. President, it's now 12:27. What time do you want to start your next meeting?
Let's do.
1:15, okay, Mary?
Yeah, let's give us at least 30.